Hi everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel. If you're new here, my wife and I own our very own pet photography studio here in Tampa. In this video, we'll be giving you pet photography tips geared towards cats, but these tips will also be applicable to dogs too. The photo shoot that we're going to show you is with two cats, Jelly Bean and Duke, and they are indoor cats only. Some cats are indoor-outdoor, but these cats were just indoor cats, so we brought them to the studio. When a cat comes to the studio, we do ask that they come inside of a carrier, mainly for their safety, but it also makes it a little bit easier to set them up on the folding table that we create, which I'll talk about in a little bit. The method that I'm about to show you took a lot of trial and error to come up with. I used to take photos at animal shelters and trying to figure out the best way to photograph shelter pets. Getting them from where they're housed in their kennel to the studio was a little tricky. We did find that using a carrier made it much easier. Shelter pets or shelter cats are a little scared or nervous, so you have to be extra careful with them. By having them in their carrier, it also makes it easier to set them up on this folding table that we put together. We drape our backdrop on top of the folding table, keeps me off the floor. Taking photos laying on the floor can be a little hard to do sometimes. We also put Jelly Bean and Duke's owners on either side of them. It helps them corral them, it keeps them contained a little bit, it actually prevents them from falling off, which is helpful. But the main part is getting me off the floor and keeping them safe too. Taking photos of cats is a little bit different than taking photos of dogs, mainly because most cats don't know commands or don't sit for treats like dogs do. So you have to try a lot of different things. It'll take a lot of trial and error. If one thing doesn't work, try something else. Jelly Bean and Duke's owners knew that they really liked cat toothpaste, so that helped a lot. But once we were able to corral them in a way that they stopped moving, that's when the photo shoot magic really happened. Cats will learn that once they stop moving, you'll stop corralling them, so eventually they just sit still and pose to the camera beautifully. It might take a little patience and some time, but eventually they'll just sit there for you. Jelly Bean and Duke entered a photo contest together, so we wanted to make sure that we had time to photograph them individually and together. And what I like to do normally when there's multiple pets from one family is photograph them separately first, and then we can try them together. It trains them individually. We get a sense of what their tendencies might be when we do them individually. We also end up with separate photos, so if it doesn't work by photographing them together, we can always edit photos together, which we do all the time. If you're new to photography or pet photography, having a lot of patience will really help you. It can be challenging to photograph pets, cats especially, but dogs too. Try something different. If what you're trying isn't working, you can always make a different attempt and see if that works. But one thing I want to stress, if the pet is not interested in the photo shoot, you don't want to force it. You're not going to get great photos. They're not going to have the best expression. So if a pet that you're photographing just isn't having it, just let them, maybe take a break or give them some water, take them outside. They might have to use the bathroom. We take breaks for pets to use the bathroom all the time. Being in a hurry doesn't always yield the best photos. When photographing cats, it's important that you pay attention to their ear behavior. Cats have a lot of muscles in their ears, and what they're doing is they're listening to a lot of different things than their surroundings. But what they're also doing is communicating with you. So if you've ever seen a cat with their ears down or back, it means they're not happy or they're not in a state of content. My favorite photo of a cat is when their ears are facing forward. It shows that they're happy, they're not angry, and it's a much better photo that way. When taking photos of shelter animals, it's common to have their ears back. If you're taking shelter photos of pets, try to make sure that their ears are forward to make sure that they're pictured in their best light. People may assume that they're angry or sad with their ears back. For Jelly Bean and Duke's photo shoot, I used 3 strobe lights to achieve the all-white effect. This is going to help us be able to take them out, edit them, and put them in another background. You might see a green screen work for this sort of thing, but we like to use white. Green, you might get a little bit of a color cast. You can also use constant lights for animals. Constant lights means that they're always on. Our lights that we use now flash. Strobe lights provide more powerful light, but it might freak the animal out. So if you're just getting started, when I started, I used constant lights, and the brand that I like to use is Westcott. I'll go ahead and put some links to the products that I use now and have used in the past in the description. But start with constant lights if you're not comfortable. The good thing about constant lights is you don't have to worry about the batteries running out, and you can just have them plugged in. If you're outside, you might want to consider a strobe light with a battery pack. For the camera settings for these photos, I used a shutter speed of 1/250th of a second. ISO was at 100, which is going to bring out the highest quality photo, reduce the noise. And then as far as the aperture, I used f14, which I wanted to make sure that the entire pet was in focus. If I used a lower aperture like 1.4, that will make maybe just the nose of the cat in focus and the rest of it will be out of focus. So we'll cover more about aperture, shutter speed, and ISO in a different video. That's it for this video. I hope you learned something about pet photography. This photo shoot for cats went very well. They don't always go this well, but with a lot of patience and different tactics, we were able to bring out Jelly Bean and Duke's good sides. If you're new here, my wife and I own our very own pet photography studio here in Tampa. Subscribe if you're interested in more pet photography tutorials. Leave a comment. I'd love to answer any questions you might have and any feedback you have on these videos. This is actually my first real tutorial on pet photography, and I know a lot of people are excited about it. So let me know if you want to see more videos like this or if you have specific questions. But I'll see you guys in a future video. Thanks for watching.